Hello all. Today is February 11th, 2015. There is a field in our neighborhood, and in this field there's a power pole, and on the power pole for the last 2 seasons, a pair of ospreys, or maybe 2 individual pairs of ospreys, for each consecutive season have tried to make a nest on this particular power pole. Today I discovered that TECO was out there removing whatever material was up there, and so I was curious to see what their solution was going to be. The ospreys have not been able to make a full nest. The structure of the power pole is not conducive to them making a nest, so they've pretty much been wasting their time. Last season they tried for months and nothing ever happened. They've already been trying this season for at the very least 2 months, and they haven't been able to get enough material wedged and tangled on top of this power pole to make something that would make a nest that would allow them to lay eggs. So they've been wasting their time, but still TECO has to come out, because if they get enough material on there and it rains and they get a dead short across those lines, well, it'll catch fire and everything else. Which is another good reason that they should come out, because if a pair of ospreys is successful at making a nest, by about the time it's large enough for them to lay eggs and to have fledglings in it, there's always the chance that it will burst into flames, and, well, that's not a good thing either. I was hoping initially when I saw them that they were actually going to put up a platform for the ospreys. I actually went out and talked to one of the gentlemen, and it turns out that a platform wasn't what they put up, unfortunately. I thought that a platform would be a wiser idea, because these particular birds are fixated on this area. And so I was hoping they would put up a platform, because there's another power pole right down the line from there. And I don't know, the chances are maybe the birds could go to that power pole. But anyway, the powers that be have determined to put up something other than a platform. The device they have chosen to use looks kind of like a McDonald's roof. It's long and narrow, and it has a triangular pitch to the roof of it, and it's made out of hard plastic, so it will keep the birds from being able to rest any material on top of it. All the material should just spill right off the top. So they're preparing that on the ground right there. It's kind of a little plastic roof that they're going to set on top of it. You can see it has a kind of a squared off ridge, which I'm not sure why it has that little, because it allows the birds to perch on there still. But anyhow, this is what the decision that has been made for this particular area is, to put this little plastic roof up. Now, while this fella cleans up all of the branches that the ospreys have collected over the last couple of months, gets that all tidied up, the fellas up top are installing 4, I guess they're 4x4s? I'm not sure. I think they're 4x4, they're wooden 4x4 posts, and they've offset them from the actual structure of the pole using some all thread and some bolts. So while they're getting that set up, you can see just to the right there, so they started on the right side of the pole, and they put 2 of these blocks up on the thread all, or all thread, or whatever you call that, the threaded rod. And those blocks are what's going to receive the little roof. While the other gentleman was beginning to prepare the other side, they brought the excluder up so that they could etch for the notches they're going to need to make to put them on top of those blocks. So they finished up putting the other two blocks on the other side. Here you can see they have the threaded rod for the other two blocks. There's 4 threaded rods, and they put the other two blocks on top of those. And those threaded rods just hold the blocks far enough above the top of the pole that they can put the little roof on. Apologies for the camera work here. You're going to get a little bit nauseous, but what I'm doing is I'm showing where the other power pole is and where the Ospreys have staged to watch them putting on this excluder. You can see there's another pole right over here. So here is the prospective parents that were interested in the power pole that they're now putting the excluder on. You can see them just down the line there, and they're just sitting around biding their time, waiting to see what is occurring at their chosen pole. And this just makes me again repeat the fact that it would have been nice if they actually put a platform up there so that they could control where the birds were going to be, rather than have the chance that they would nest in another pole. Here's the pole all ready to receive the excluder. You can see the 4 wooden blocks installed on top of the pole, and they'll set the excluder right on top of those wooden blocks. You can see the notches in the excluder where they had to modify it because they weren't using it the way that it was originally designed. They modified it to fit over the 4 blocks. It looks to me like they've learned that you need to have more than just a couple of blocks in order to make it sturdy enough. So they've changed the design so that they can string out the load across more of the excluder. And here they just drilled holes, and eventually they just hammered the excluder in. So I'm just gonna, I'll show you the excluder done, and then I'll switch over and show you the way the birds reacted to it. Okay, as the bucket swings away, you'll see the excluder in all of its glory. It's a pretty simple device, and once again my emotional reaction is to it. I'm disappointed that they didn't put up a platform. I don't know how much more the materials would have cost, but certainly they could have put one up probably even more efficiently than this guard, because they just would have to put an upright with a square platform that could have been pre-hung. Well, it wasn't more than 45 minutes and the pair of Ospreys showed up, having been watching from a distance the whole time, And they didn't land on it for a little while. They kind of scouted it out. They came around and gave it a good look. During this time, as I was training the camera on these two, I realized there was another pair too. So there were 4 separate Ospreys, 2 different pairs. I only saw the one pair that I can attest to that were interested in the checking out the pole with the excluder on it. But they kept flying around and flying around. And I kept thinking to myself, boy, TECO could have been a real hero in this situation if they had put a platform up there, and it would have been entertainment for all the neighbors to watch these ospreys raise a family there if they took to the platform. Eventually one of them landed on it and gave it a few strange looks. I think the plastic material having a far different surface than the wooden material is probably disconcerting to them. But this one sat around on top of it for a few minutes trying to figure out what in the world had just been done to its prospective perch, prospective nesting site. Really gave it some close consideration. He's looking all over. And here they are again this morning. They have hung in there. Both the pair of them have been sitting on the excluder off and on all day, trying to figure out what to do. I guess eventually they'll either move down to the next power pole or they'll fly away. I don't know. You've got to appreciate Tampa Electric for keeping our power lines clear and our power on. Just wish in this case they would have kept the power on and made a nice little platform for these birds.